A man uses a wheelchair.
Since Jacob was young, we've had a vision about what a good life would look like for him. For Jacob to be included in the community and to learn alongside other people.
Jacob attends a meeting at uni.
Part of that vision is about him living in his own home. Not living with strangers, not being supported by strangers.
He uses picture communications.
With him making the choices about his home, the same as most people do.
Title, Jake's Place. A blonde woman is interviewed. Jacob and his assistant Shannon Benton cross a street, then watch TV. His mobility is limited.
I'm Linda Hughes. I'm Jacob's mother. Jacob's 26 years old. He loves his sport. He loves watching cricket. He loves Harry Potter and he's what's known as a Potterhead. He loves going to the pub, watching bands, really doing the same things that many other 26-year-old men enjoy.
Shannon Benton.
So Jaco loves watching telly. That's how he relaxes. His favourite shows are The Living Room, the lifestyle program, and also Rock Quiz. We'll listen to the music and answer some of the trivia questions, which is really good fun.
Group homes are not the sort of life we'd like for Jacob, and we never have wanted that for him. They are mini institutions, and I don't think that they are right for my son, and I've worked hard to make sure that that's not something that's in his life. As Jacob got into his 20s, he really loved it when I went away. And he'd be a bit grumpy when I came back. And we really could see that Jacob was loving it when he didn't have his mother around all the time. And that's really normal and really natural and really great. Just a little bit rejecting, but you know, I can cope with that. So we could tell that Jacob was really ripe and ready for living separately to me.
A ramp leads from the house.
So when it came to moving out, it actually made more sense for us to move out because the house that we live in was completely modified for Jacob. So we moved to the house behind, which just became available for rent. Jacob has complex health and sometimes requires a bit of assistance overnight. And me being nearby, close enough to provide assistance, but far enough for him to be independent made great sense to us. It was important that Jake's voice was prominent, was the voice leading us. With Jacob's communication difficulties, it can be really, really hard for Jacob to articulate different things that he's wanting. You know, he's good at getting his message across, but those situations that he's not got experience with, it's harder for him to tell us. We are really guided by Jacob, not just in how he's communicating with us, but also how he's expressing himself emotionally to see how things are going for him. So we sort of really are watching carefully, you know, to see if Jacob's enjoying the company of people, if he's happy with the situation.
Melanie Schläger.
I'm part of Jacob's support circle, and that's a group of people, both paid and unpaid, all coming together on an unpaid basis though. And we talked about some challenges that would be present for Jacob around moving out. We had some professional facilitation around that came in and helped us think through some of those challenges.
Jacob's a really social person, so it's really important that he shares his house with other people who share his interests and enjoy his company, and he enjoys their company. So we're looking out for housemates to share with Jacob.
It's going to be a process because it needs to be someone who likes Harry Potter, who doesn't mind watching cricket a lot, and who likes, you know, similar TV shows. You need to be aware of and mindful of Jacob's vulnerabilities, and because he obviously finds it more challenging to tell us if there's something that's wrong, and so we're going to have to be really hyper aware and tuned into that. But the good thing is that it's a few of us working on that together, so we'll have each other to kind of check in with about that.
Even when Jacob's got house sharers, he will still have paid support, and he'll still have paid support overnight. The housemates won't be paid, The idea is they will be socialising together. There'll be a cool sort of social vibe to the house.
Jaco, how do you feel about living independently? My man, tell me.
He uses a stylus and tablet.
Opinion?
Unbelievable.
Shannon is interviewed.
I've worked with Jacob for almost 3 years now. I've seen all the changes and especially the big move out. So I've seen Jaco's self-confidence grow. Yeah, Jaco will initiate a conversation on his pod. He's flying around that communication device with a stylus on his own, which he's never done before.
Lucy Biddle, Jacob's assistant.
One thing that I've noticed from my perspective, and I know it happened with me when I moved out of home and a lot of my friends when they moved out of home, was how much Jacob and Linda's relationship has changed since she's moved out and he's been living independently. And they've always had a really amazing relationship. But I guess now that he's living independently and living without his mum around all the time, he's always just so happy to see her. And I think the friendship side of their relationship has deepened a lot more. The dynamics changed.
In a cafe, Jacob and Linda use the tablet. Melanie is interviewed.
Jake has really taken to living on his own and being in charge, per se, I would say, because you can just see that, you know, when you come over for a social gathering that's about him and that's he's initiated with support, he's seems really up for having people over, and he's doing a lot more on the weekends, and you can see how engaged he looks in his face, and he I don't know, it's just, I feel like it's made a difference to the relationships of people around him because we know that it's what Jacob wants.
Jacob, Shannon and the dog cross a road and head through town.
On a daily basis, we head down the street, stop in at the florist, at the cafe. People stop for a chat, have a laugh. So I know that Jacob is a real valued part of this particular community.
Jacob and Lucy enter a university building.
Toastmasters is a group where people get together to practice different public speaking skills. The one that Jacob goes to is based at the university. So there's a lot of university students, sometimes PhD students, who want to get more practice in public speaking skills. So it usually follows the same program.
I will give you questions to practice.
And Jacob's role changes week to week.
My next invention is sleeping bags with arms and legs.
So I love this idea, and I don't think it's a phenomenal one because
there are a lot of really great people, and he is a really important part of the group, and people really love seeing him week to week. So since Linda's moved out and Jacob's been living independently, I think it has had a really big impact on Jake's independence, and Jacob being not being a 26-year-old guy who lives with his mum and lives at home, but now being an independent young man who lives in his own place. And I know when a lot of us are referring to, you know, now this is Jake's house, it's not Linda's house anymore, it's, do you want to, like, you know, go to Jake's place for beers on a Friday night. It's Jake's place now, yeah.
Linda is interviewed.
Well, it's his home. So he's the one who decides what goes on in his house. He decides who comes to his house, and he decides what goes on in his home. He decides when he gets up in the morning and when he goes to bed at night. And he's got support to make some of those decisions about how his house runs, but he's very much the key person in the house. It's his. It really is him determining how he lives his life, the way that most people would expect to.
Thank you to everyone who took part in the making of this film, particularly Jacob Hughes, his family, friends and assistants. Resourcing Inclusive Communities, an initiative of Family Advocacy. rac.org.au, family-advocacy.com, Greenwood Media.